Hello, and welcome to my session. My name is Tom Burns, and I'm going to be your guide today. I'm a Reiki Master, but I'm also an energy worker in various different modalities. The foundation of the work that I'm doing today will mostly be based in Traditional Usui Reiki. As well, I may dabble into other things. So you're going to see things from first person. These are my hands, and I'm going to be performing the session in real time from the first person perspective on my wife, Jeanette. And we'll do a little bit of role playing just so that you can get a sense of how to perform a session. And so one of the first things that I wanted to do was point out this room. I've created as best I can a high vibration space. This is literally our sitting room, our entry room into our 130-year-old house in this old farmhouse. And not much has changed since I've been here, which has been 45 years. And you'll begin to see that some things haven't really changed since then. And it's under renovation. But for demonstration purposes, this is going to suit exactly what we need. I'll point out some high vibration things. And this is for your understanding. Your space, of course, can have anything at all that you would like. So here you will see just some things that are high vibration for me. There's a family photo of us about 7-8 years ago. That's me, that's my wife, and there's 2 of our children. And there's some items here that are high vibration. And this is a crystal with some jewelry. And we're going to put this one on. And you probably noticed that I do have a few things here on my wrist. Those are very important and high vibration items. I wear them mostly every day. I also wear them during my Reiki sessions. And I also wear this. This is a high vibration mala. It is specifically for healing and for ascension and transcending sort of the humanness and 3D of our lives. There's a few more things there again. There's some pictures of me, family, me from many years ago. There's a whole story behind that one. But you notice as you look up, there's some crystals pretty much everywhere. It's not exclusive to crystals. You can have anything you want. So if you look around, you'll see some incense here. Perhaps we'll light that later. Some mixed items. And don't mind the mess of the deck. It's a snowy day out there. This is a high vibration space to begin with. This home is a high vibration space. It's an old bookshelf. And this is a spot where I would recommend, as I put this on, I would recommend that if you are working out of your home, that you have a place where you can sit comfortably with your client. This is a good place to begin your session, to sit down and ask how they're feeling, what things have been going on in their life, how you can help, essentially. It's typically just a quick 5-minute conversation. It can get into more. If you've seen this client and they're a repeat client, it might take a little bit longer if you're, reintroducing or introducing yourselves for the first time. So there's crystals, some other high vibration items. There's a coat rack. We're handy to a washroom. There's easy access in and out in case someone needs to use a washroom. Fireplace, water cooler, just to have fresh water, and a kitchen. And this is water, and perhaps as part of your practice, and something you might want to think about, is if you bring people into your space, perhaps part of the add-ons to your offerings could be, making them tea or coffee afterwards. Perhaps there's caffeine restrictions, just something to think about. Maybe you want to offer a luncheon or kombucha, just something bonus sort of added offering. And thinking about the entire experience of having someone into your home, what that process looks like, and how you can make it magical and unique. So I'm going to go into the kitchen. Please don't mind the mess. This kitchen in this space hasn't really changed in the last 45 years or more. There's been some updates in painting, but this is just an old farmhouse, a beautiful old country farmhouse that my parents first bought 50, 60 years ago. And today will be Farmhouse Reiki. So one of the things that I like to do is in my space, I want to make sure that the space is protected. And I know that essentially this view out here is south facing. So I know that this is the east, south, west, and north. And then we have above, the ceiling above, and the floor below. So one of the things that I do is very much like a Reiki bubble, is I protect my space, all four compass points and above and below. So what I do, and what I would recommend Reiki practitioners do in their space, before every time, every practice, every session, and perhaps in your own time, when and if you need it, is to take the time to do the protection. It is essential. So this is done with your symbols. You can use the symbols that we know through Reiki, or you can just set your intent for protecting your space if that is all that you intuitively feel is necessary. So in this case, I'm going to put on my energetic armor. And for those of you who have taken the course, will understand what the energetic armor is. And I will take about 5 minutes just breathing and going through the motions, in which case I know I'm protected. And then I'll begin to protect my space. And that is just facing and intending the energy of protection to go in all of those four compass points and above and below. So I'm putting on my energetic armor right now. And I am doing this until I feel the flow of energy. I feel the flow of energy, and I know that there are some things that have been bothering me the last few days. So I know I'm just going to wave those out as I was sort of instructed in the videos, I guess. And I'm putting on my armor, removing those things that don't serve me with my intentions. Any person that's associated with those, I'm giving energy that is not mine back to them. I'm not hurting them, harming them, and I'm removing my energy that was accidentally leaked to them. So anything that I oozed or gave off accidentally, I'm just returning that back to me, and it's not hurting or harming them in any way. I'm welcoming that back into me. And if there's any chakras where I'm feeling there's blockages, or any events or feelings have affected those parts of my body or the chakras, I'm taking the energy and I'm putting it back into my body. I'm essentially just charging up until I feel that I'm ready to go. And so I feel pretty good. I've been feeling quite well. And so now I'm going to start, and I'm facing the south, and I will bless this space with intention. If you can get to the center of your room to do this, that's fine. If not, that's fine. You can do it from anywhere in particular that you'd like, but you just want to be able to have enough space to move and to perhaps move your hands around. So I will do that. And I will intend. I will also say the chokure, 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 sehiki, 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 chokure, chokure, chokure. The intention, the feeling is protection. To do the same. East facing, chokure, 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 sehiki, 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 chokure, chokure, chokure. And I'll bring my hands into prayer or gaso. And now I will go north facing to do the same for the space. Chokure, 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 sehiki, 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 chokure, chokure, chokure. And now I will go east facing. Chokure, 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 sehiki, 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 chokure, chokure, chokure. And so at this time, I will go in and I'll light my incense. I'm feeling that I myself am protected. And I will get my lighter from up here. And I will come in here and light my incense. Now, I'm doing this because I know that my client likes incense. If I have a client that does not like incense or the sensitive to that, I wouldn't be lighting it. Or perhaps I'd be using a diffuser with essential oils, something like that. That would be fine. But in this case, I know I like incense, they like incense. So we're going to light the incense as well. So in the background, I'm going to play some wonderful background music, and I'm going to set that up right now. There, so I've set up the music, and now I'm wearing high vibration comfortable clothes. I can walk around the table quite easily, quite simply. There's no obstructions. Please take note that I do have 2 children in the other room, and as this is a demo, they might pop in and out here and there, and that's perfectly fine with me. And so the idea here is to make sure that you, as the practitioner, are ready for anything that may happen. Now, this is, of course, water for me that I have on hand. And this is my table. And you'll notice that I have 1 blanket, a second heavier blanket, and I also have these sheets. This is a queen size sheet on the small table. And I like that, and sometimes I do that because I can put things under this table that perhaps I don't need people to know about or people to see. So down there could be some crystals. Sometimes it could be some maintenance things like a small laundry basket, perhaps with extra sheets or replacement pillowcases. Perhaps, people could cry or there could be an accident. One of the things that I like to have present, but I don't right now, is a box of tissues. This can be because things can be emotional and they can come out while we're together or while they're laying here on the table. There can be a lot of emotions that come out. And I just want people to never feel ashamed about their emotions, and I want to be accommodating emotionally for anything that might be going through. I also have 3 pillows. If you work on women that are with child, the more pillows the merrier, because they have to be propped up a little bit differently. Typically, I have a minimum of 3. 1 nice one for the neck and the head, 1 for underneath their knees, and then the other one, it's just the 3rd one that can be used however they'd like if they need it. And so now we're pretty much ready to go. I have my room ready the way I like it. I have water over there for me. The lighting is good. The quiet is good. My notifications on my phone are turned off. The phone's actually on airplane mode. I will ask my client to actually do the same when they come into the room, put their phone on airplane mode or turn off all the notifications and place it away. I've done my energetic armor. I'm feeling charged up. And now we just wait for the client to arrive. And so we continue on with the Reiki session. So at this point, the client has arrived. I've greeted them at the door. I've welcomed them in. I've taken their coat. I've hung it up. I've asked them to place their shoes over there. I've asked them to sit comfortably. And beside my client, I have a glass of water for them and 1 for myself. And for demonstration purposes today, it will be my lovely wife, Jeanette, who will be helping me and role-playing as the client. So I'm just going to sit down and ask her a few questions on why she's here, and she's a repeat client, so I don't have to get into an intake form or anything like that. Hi, Jeanette. Lovely to see you again.
Hi.
What brings you in to see me here today?
Well, I've been struggling with waking up with pain in my back, tension my shoulders, neck, and back of my head. And it's just time.
Very good. So oftentimes your clients are going to express what they feel comfortable with expressing. So when it comes to their physical pain, and as we know, with energy, the physical can sometimes be the precursor or the representation of the energetic stuff or the emotional stuff that's actually going on underneath. So you can ask them outright if there's other emotional or energetic things that they're aware of that could be happening. So have a lot of discretion and be very gentle, because you're not trying to poke or you're not trying to pry them open uncomfortably. Perhaps they'll be okay with this and open about that. If not, we are absolutely 100% being respectful. So Jeanette, is there something going on in your life that's on your mind, or that's, in your life that's messing with your energy?
Mercury retrograde.
Okay, so sometimes they'll represent, or they'll say some things that aren't necessarily within their control, but it's absolutely a part of what we're subjected to. And what you'd want to do is provide customer service, provide care. This is a therapeutic environment, so we want to help. So in this case, I would say, Jeanette, I totally understand. I have it affect me as well. Sometimes I'm feeling really wacky. I'm feeling out of control. I feel that way sometimes. So perhaps there's ways that I can help you protect your energy. And we'll go about doing that. And in the session, so do you have any intentions or thoughts about the session and what you'd like to get out of it?
Just releasing.
Okay. All right, very good. So, all right, we'll get you set up on the table right here. And I'll take a moment to get myself ready, and you can do the same. So I'll also ask Jeanette, do you need assistance to get up on the table? Do you need a stool? Do you need my arm or anything to help you get up? Okay, I'll see you in just a moment. So in this case, I would go to a private place, a washroom, or over here in the kitchen or in another room, and make sure my armor's up, my energy is good, that I'm not being affected by things that I don't want to be affected by energetically, and that I'm emotionally sound, I'm professionally prepared to perform the session. So usually after the washroom break, and putting on my energetic armor, releasing anything that isn't mine, anything I don't need, I will come in and just see how she's doing in the setup and check on her. All right, so how are you feeling? Great. Okay, so I notice you got 2 pillows here. Is that putting strain on your neck?
Nope.
Okay, it feels comfortable like that? Great. If at any time you need a break, just let me know. If you need an adjustment or have to use the washroom, anything like that, just let me know. Is that good?
Yeah.
Is there anything I can do to make you more comfortable right now?
A pillow under my legs. I'm good.
Okay, so you notice that. She mentioned that she put a pillow under her legs. It provides a little bit of back relief here. And so she's good with the double pillow setup. Some people just like the one, whatever they'd like, whatever your client is comfortable with. And so I begin just by asking, and I would use her by name. I would say, so Jeanette, you've been here before. You remember how I do these things. And one of the first things I like to do is to make sure that you understand our session is protected, that this is a sacred space. There's no negative energies that can come into this sacred space. There can sometimes be. Now, for those who are listening, this is outside traditional Usui Reiki, but this is what I personally like to offer, is an intuitive Reiki, is that sometimes there can be energies that are beyond this physical realm that want to make themselves known to help you with balancing or with your inner guidance or inner peace. Would you be willing to have something like that happen?
Absolutely.
Okay, very good. And so they can come in the form of spirit, the loved ones who has passed on, spirit guides, angels. You're still comfortable with all that?
I am.
And once they mention that they're uncomfortable, or that they are comfortable, I like to send an invitation out to the universe, to the spirit, to the energy world. I say, energies, those of love, light, and healing, spirit guides, spirits, any implement of source, of God, that may be here to help Jeanette on her journey, and you'd like to make yourself known today to help us with this process, please let us know. And this is something that I like to do as the intuitive healer. as the Reiki practitioner, you don't have to do that. That's not required. If you feel compelled to do that, then you can do that in your own practice if you feel right to do that, although it's not necessary. So the next step is to deepen her comfort, and I want to explain to her that I do touch Reiki. So I do touch Reiki. I'll be touching various parts of your body from head to toe, and it's all incredibly professional. So if she's not okay with that, I can do the hover hand technique. I just sort of am a couple inches away from her body parts, from her head, from her stomach, from her legs. I prefer to be hands-on. So for demonstration purposes, I like to put my hands right on the person. And there's something very beautiful about the human connection that occurs. It's still very nice to do hover hand. The energy is still flowing, but some people just respond nicely to the physical touch. So if they're comfortable with that, then we continue. And if they're not, that's okay. We let them rest assured that the energy is still going to do what it's needed to do, and that it will still be a beautiful experience. There's no better or worse here. And so what I'd like to do next is to prep the person to go deeper into their own receivership. And so this is a prime example of how you can perform Reiki on mother and child. And children are incredibly intuitive, and children are incredibly responsive to energy. And so even though I'm focusing on my wife, Jeanette, this little guy here feels it. So we're going to help him. And he can participate however he wants. So Jeanette and Marison, what I want you to do is close your eyes and take really big breaths. When you breathe in, imagine the light coming into your nose and into your lungs and filling you up from the top of your head and down to your feet. And every time you breathe out, you're releasing anything that is not of service to you. And so at this time, I'm inviting the recipient to get deeper, well, as close as they can into sort of a meditative state. And this might be a difficult thing because there's a lot going on in people's heads. There could be a lot going on with emotions. And so you have to initiate that by producing a meditative state through a voice or other mechanism, or just guiding a verbal meditation, in which case I will show you something very simple. And so, Jeanette, I want you to picture yourself staring out at a perfectly calm, crystal clear lake. And in your mind's eye, there's no disruptions. There's no phone, there's no children, there's no notifications, no dogs barking, no mosquitoes, no planes in the sky. There's nothing here that could distract you from this sacred space where you see the water set out before you. You can feel its stillness. You invite it into you. You become one with the stillness. And every breath that you take in, you can feel the peaceful stillness, the holiness working its way in you. And with every breath out, you're releasing anything that is not of service to you. And so you breathe in and you release. And oftentimes I'll instruct Jeanette, continue to breathe like that, perhaps 5, 6, 7 times, until you really feel like you're starting to release. You can feel your muscles relax. You can feel the tightening here and there beginning to release. And the light that you breathe in, I want you to send it to any particular place that you feel discomfort. And then I'll leave the client with those breaths while I do an aura sweep. And so essentially what I'm doing is I charge up my hands and I do some breath work. I do the prayer or the gaso. And in this case I say chokure, chokure, chokure. Sehiki, sehiki, sehiki. Chokure, chokure, chokure. It's just a Reiki sandwich. Her health is relatively well. I don't feel any emotional discomfort, any physical discomfort. I don't really feel I need to use the daikomyo symbol. And so I'm going to intend these hands of mine to do the work. And so now that they're charged up, I can fan away any of the energy that I can feel in her field. I'm just clearing it of anything and everything, especially that which may not be of service to her. And so I'm just brushing, fanning, walking around from head to toe, walking around. You can do it this way if you'd like. There's no particular way. There's no right or wrong here. I'm just trying to help as best I can. Okay, and so we'll take this one and let her lay back. And that may happen. The client needs to do a shift, and that's perfectly okay. And so you just keep fanning and fanning. And so right now, we can do a scan of your body. And we can do a head-to-toe scan. And I can just feel to see if there's any changes or fluctuations to our energy or temperature. And you can feel this all with your hands and with your intuition. And I feel there's stuff going on in her heart. And I know there's stuff going on in her throat. And her mind is busy. And she's getting into a beautifully and relaxed state. So all that is normal, and it's variable per session. So this is just the primary scan. And the grounding, we will do a little bit of work to help her just balance out and pull her to the ground, into her roots. And so I always instruct my client what I'm doing and where I'm going to next. And so I'll come here, and I do a head-to-toe approach. Some people just like to stay at the head and do all the work from there. Some people just do hover hands over various chakras or places. There's no right or wrong here. I'll just show you my technique. I just intuitively go with what feels right to me, and you do what feels right to you. My hands are a little bit cold, so I'm just warming them up. That's what you're witnessing there. Because this is supposed to be very comfortable, very relaxing, very nice for the client. So it's important to filter your actions and your words and everything you do. You want to ask yourself, how will your client feel if I do this? So my hands are cold, and what did I do? I just warmed them up, and I'll ask my client, is this music okay? Is this suitable? All right, very good. And so I'm going to ask my client, I'm going to work on chakras. Is that okay? I'm going to work from head to toe. We know that your chakras end at your root, the ones that we're going to work on, and we're going to do some grounding work. So the first thing that we're going to do is go to her head. And so I always cradle and cup the head just like this. And then I close my eyes. And I ask my client to take a big breath in and release. And take another big breath in and release. And we continue to breathe like that. Big breath in and release. Now, in Traditional Usui Reiki, there's no talking throughout the entire session, perhaps here and there, but typically you don't ask or go into what the client is experiencing aside from customer service related things. I would just go about doing the session. And so when I touched her head, I just settled into it, and I immediately felt tingles that worked their way down the neck, to the right side. And for me, intuitively, that is an indicator that there's an energy here with us, more than just my energy or my client's energy or energetic connection to source or this Reiki energy. And so in an intuitive session, I would explore that. I would spend a lot of time, or whatever is necessary, just breathing, slowing down, and listening, paying full body and mind attention. And I would see what comes to me. And anything that comes to me, I would discern whether or not it's something I wanted to speak to her about. In this case, we're just going to stick to Traditional Usui Reiki instruction. And sometimes you'll notice your own symptoms. And so whenever I start working with energy, one of the first things that starts to happen is that my nose gets a little bit runny. I don't know why. It just happens. And just take note that in these sessions, if there's a repeat physiological thing that happens, then note that this is just your body responding as well to the clearing. So one of the things that I know that she had said is that she has some pain in her neck and in her head. And so I'm going to be very sensitive. And I'm going to say, is this okay? Is it all right if I go behind your neck and your head? And I'll ask her, is there any discomfort or any issues at all? Okay. And so this is not a chakra per se, typical one of the 7 chakras, but it's connected to one of the many, and it's also connected to her throat chakra. So this is connected to one of the 7 main ones. And so she's feeling the physical pain down her neck and her head, down her shoulders. So I'm just taking some breaths and sending and being the conduit of the energy to this location. So big breath in and release. Relax everything you can from head to toe. Big breath in and release. Big breath in. And so in these quiet moments, again, if you're doing the intuitive Reiki, you can discuss what it is you're feeling or picking up or what you sense, but have a lot of discretion and approach it without ego. Approach it very delicately and gently. Because if you pick up anything that feels like a blockage or something that is an emotionally traumatic experience from this person's past that is still with them, you don't want to pry it open because it's very, very sensitive. And you need to handle that with care. So use a lot of discernment and discretion in that process. There's often times where I don't jump into it because I'm not trying to create a difficult situation. And so now I'm going over to her crown, one hand on her crown. And this could be done in any way. I'm also going to her third eye just because I intuitively feel this. And so I feel her stomach releasing. And that's normal. Some people might at this point feel, I'm sorry. And I always encourage them, no, this just means you're relaxing, you're getting deeper into it, just like muscles. When your intestines are tense and naturally very taut, so when you relax very deeply, your stomach is one of the first things to respond. And so hers, where it was gurgling and there's a little bit of movement, this is perfect. You don't have to mention it, but sometimes they might bring up that they're a little bit embarrassed, and you just brush it away. This is absolutely normal. So just an FYI, that when you hear that sound, I'm just sitting and working on her head here, so you know that the energy is flowing. The relaxation, the deeper relaxation is taking place. So I close my eyes and take a few big breaths. And I noticed that there was something released here, either third eye or crown. I just felt the temperature surge. So that's why you see me doing that. And she might be aware of what it is that's being released. And oftentimes not. And we don't have to be aware of the particulars, but they might be responding to the release. And so I felt it. So I'm going to go back to her shoulders. And I'm going to say, are you comfortable? And so I put a little pressure here, not much. And I ask, are you comfortable? And so it's very light pressure, not a massage, just very light, just enough. And so I ask her to breathe, big breath in and release. And I give a little bit more pressure. I'm just pushing those shoulders a little bit gently down. I'm just asking her body to relax even more. And so as soon as I feel that deep relaxation, I stop with the pressure and I dial it back a little bit. And I ask her to continue to breathe. And intuitively, this is where a lot of people carry a lot of baggage, just the weight of the burdens that they carry around. They carry it right here. And so I breathe and I ask them to do the same. And so when I feel like there's been work done here, I shift my hands. And so I press again and I say big breath in And big breath out, relax. Big breath in. And big breath out. And relax. I'll stay just like this. Back off a little bit, but stay just like this. And Jeanette isn't carrying a whole lot of weight. Everyone carries some. It's totally normal. And Jeanette isn't carrying a whole lot of weight, so this is normal. I would encourage that. I would say that if it's an intuitive session. I would say you're very weightless here. You're very light. You're not carrying around a whole lot of stuff. You're not carrying around a life's worth of stuff. So the work and the practice that you're doing on your own energetic practice, is doing some good work. Does that make sense? And so we stay here for a few more breaths. And release. If I feel so inclined, then I go to the back of her shoulders. I might feel inclined to ask her to flip over, but in this case not. I'll ask her if I can go under her shoulders, and I lift them up one by one, and I place my hands underneath. And I say big breath in, and release. And a big breath in, and release. Big breath in, and release. Big breath in, and release. During an intuitive Reiki session, perhaps there is times where there's nothing that is said, and the experience of just immersive. It's normal, and it's beautiful, and it's perfect on its own. Not every moment of the session has to be filled with profound awakening experiences, visions. It can be very slow, very subtle, very gentle, very patient. Very much like watching a slow waterfall or wind move very gently through the trees. And that's how we understand it. So next I'm going to go to her throat chakra, and I ask her, is this comfortable? Mm-hmm. I always ask. Or I ask permission, can I place my hands on your throat just gently like this? And yes, perhaps they've already said yes to all of it, but I always ask again, just so I'm not surprising them with a random touch, that they know where I'm going and they begin to focus and anticipate the touch there. It's not a startle, it's not a surprise. And so in this case, you are a little tight here. There's some stuff going on. And so feel free with my client. That's my wife. I know I can give a little bit of massage here with a client. If you're not sure, then, always use your discretion. Be very gentle. And so Jeanette, we're going to release some things here. Take a big breath in and release. Big breath in and release. Very good. And one more. And release. And you can stay here as long as you want, as long as you intuitively need. I'm going to go to her ear just because I feel like there's some stuff connected to her throat that's connected to her ears. And the ears are a huge part of communication. The voice comes out of the throat, but the listening part comes in through the ears, and that's normal with communication. So we'll work on anything residual that might be in the ears. So big breath in. And relax. And a big breath in. And relax. Another big breath in. And release. I'm going to remove my hands. I felt a lifting there, so I'm just going to clear some of the stuff that could be there. So next, after working on this part, the head and area, I'm going to move to her heart. So I'm going to say, Jeanette, is that okay? I'm going to work on your heart and place my hands on your collarbone up here. So this can be a sensitive area, especially for females, where you just want to use discretion to make sure your professionalism and integrity is being adhered to. And so I always say, I'm going to go to your collarbone right up here. And I ask, are you okay? And if they say they're not very comfortable, then I just go hover hand and I'll ask if they can feel my hand there. And if they say, yes, I'm good, then I know we're good. And she said that she's okay with that. I'm not choking. I'm not up on her neck here. It's very gentle, away from her throat and just on her collarbone. I know I'm working on her heart. I know the location is more over here, but my intention is to be working on her heart while I'm in this location. And also I feel inclined to place my hand on her crown here. It's just intuitive. I feel the energy sort of working between both hands. You can intuitively do whatever you want here, but this is what I'm doing. So we'll take a few big breaths. Big breath in. And release. Another big breath in. And release. Another breath in. And you might be picking up on stuff here because the heart is the great emoter. There's so much emotion that is stored up, emotional memory stored up, and the power of emotion is located in the heart area. And you might pick up on things that someone may have locked away in their own mind or subconsciously. They just tucked it away. It could be trauma, it could be sensitive events, things that they've forgotten. Just be gentle and always use discretion if you want to bring it up and talk about it intuitively. You can be vague here if you don't want to pry it open. You can just say, I sense that there's some stuff here that's heavy, that could be, a blockage. And you might say, does this make sense to you? And they'll say, sure, yeah. And I say, let's work on that now. Let's close our eyes and we're really going to focus on clearing up the heart. Does that make sense? And they say, sure. And if you picked up on something in particular, intuitively, and perhaps as an example, we'll say, pick up like a longing for the purpose of your life, and you intuitively know this is going to be a can of worms, use discretion, the longing for, the sense of direction, approach it delicately. And you might mention this and they could say, yes, of course. I feel that for the last 20 years, I haven't been sure of what I should be doing with guidance, etc. And if that's the case, then we say, Jeanette, we're just going to send some energy here to clear it out. So let's do a big breath in and release. Big breath in. And release, relax. Another big breath in. And release. So now I feel compelled to just put both hands here, put my left over my right, and I'm going to ask her to take another couple big breaths. So big breath in. And release. So now, if along the way I'm sensing emotional stuff in there, perhaps I'm going to say it, or perhaps not. So in this case, I feel emotional thing, so I'm going to give it some energetic attention. I'm going to do the Reiki sandwich. Chokure, 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 sehiki, 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 chokure, chokure, chokure. And we use that for the emotional clearing, to clear out, to finalize that Reiki sandwich, but to send specifically Reiki. So I can feel it, we can intend it, we could beam it, you could use your mind, whatever works for you. Now I'm just going to stay here for a few minutes, feel that there's an alleviation, or that there's a physical change or a temperature change, or that enough time has sort of elapsed. So I'd instruct a big breath in, and relax. Another big breath in, and release. Sometimes I'll do this and put my hand there while I'm clearing. and just sort of brush things away, move things away, fan it out. And sometimes I'm called to go back to a place. So I just worked on her heart, and I feel like it's moving a little bit. It's going back to her shoulders where she holds some stuff. And so I say, I'm going to come back to your shoulders, and I'm just going to apply a little pressure. Is that okay, Jeanette? And so I place my hands back on her shoulders, and I want you to breathe in and release. And inhale. And exhale. We'll stay right here for a moment or two. Now, this Reiki session, this demonstration, I am going where I am intuitively feeling to go. If I had been just procedural about the entire session, I would have just gone from head to toe, jumping from one chakra to the next, to the feet. But because this is intuitive, I'm feeling that there is a release in her heart and it's moving. And so I just feel compelled to go where the energy is telling me to go. And I don't want it to hold in a trigger point of hers. So intuitively, as the practitioner, you'll be intuitively guided over your client's body to clear the chakras wherever it moves and however it comes to you. So trust that. Go with where you feel. Very good. Are you feeling okay? Okay. And so now I'm going to go to her stomach. I'm going to go to your stomach. I'm going to place both hands right here. And we're working on a number of different areas here. We're working on her solar plexus and her sacral chakras. You can say this to the client if you want, but the traditional Usui Reiki is just the hand placement, and it's silent and meditative. So just take a few big breaths here, and I'm going to pay attention. So while I'm here, there's two things that I'm guided to do. So I'm going to do one of these things now. I'm just listening. I'm going to place one hand here, and the other one I'm going to place behind her neck, and I'm going to let her know. So Jeanette, I'm going to place one hand just behind your neck, just a little bit right here. So whatever I'm working intuitively on her stomach, it could be attached to something in her throat chakra or her causal area. So I want to work on both of those areas. So the rhyme or reason to it is I'm just feeling it out intuitively. So my hands are here, and I'm going to slow things down on my own and just listen and be a conduit. Very good. And after a couple of breaths, I move on to the next. I want to do something else while I'm here. I want to just place both hands on either side of your tummy. Jeanette, is it okay if I place both hands on either side of your stomach? And we'll do some big breaths here. So after spending some time in our core area here, I want to work on her root chakra, but this is a sensitive area, so I want to be professional, and I'm going to come down to the knee with my intention of everything flowing in this general area, and that's as comfortable as I am. So obviously you can hover hand in any area that you want, but because I do hands-on, I place my hands right above her knees, above and below her knees, and I'll ask her, Jeanette, are you okay with me placing my hands above and below your kneecap? Above and below your knee, essentially? Okay. And so I've received her permission. And so I go with one leg. You can do one leg or the next or both. I work my way down single leg and then I go up the other leg. And so I go under here. And then I go above and below the knee and I'll reassure, Jeanette, you feel okay? And if she's comfortable, sometimes I'll say, I'm beginning to work on your grounding and your rootedness, your balance. So just take a few breaths and concentrate on clearing and receiving at the same time. And really focus on my hands. Again, you don't have to do that technique. If you want to do this or you want to do both legs at the same time, this is fine. It's all fine. Whatever you feel is right. I just find that I like to do this. And so that's what I do. And oftentimes while I'm here, I'll get interesting imagery. So it could be things that are sometimes very natural, like trees, roots of trees, megaliths, mountains, beautiful flowers or bushes. It's all very different per person. And so I spend some time here. If there's an energy flowing, I'll feel it. If something comes up and I feel like discussing, then I do. And so I'm going to move to her calf. So I'll say, Jeanette, I'm going to move to your calf. She gave me a nod, so I'm going to move down here, above and below her calf. And I'm just holding her leg very gently right here. And so interestingly, as I got here, I felt a shift in her energy. So I'm not going to get into the intuitive stuff here that I'm picking up on. Obviously that's some personal things, so we're not going to dive into that, but we're going to go into the balancing and the grounding. And this isn't judgment. This isn't right or wrong. Everyone has this to some degree. So now that I know I'm going to spend some time here. And if I felt like with my own discernment that I should explore that, then I would. But I'm just going to send energy here, be the conduit to balance things out. Very good. So Jeanette, I'm going to move to your feet now. Is that okay? And so if you feel comfortable taking off the blanket and holding the perfect sock or barefoot, then feel free to do that. But this is all I usually do. It's just this typically. Find a spot that's comfortable for both of you if needed. And then just relax. And release. Big breath in. Usually, sometimes, both sides feel different. One side typically feels perhaps a little bit more grounded or rooted, perhaps the yin and yang or the balance between the two. Sometimes there's a huge difference between the two. Sometimes it's very subtle. So just take note. And if you feel like there's a deficit or something that you should bring up, then discuss and use your discretion. So I'm going to come here and say, Jeanette, I'm just going to pick up your foot. And I'm just going to hold it like this. And I'm going to go to your other foot and just lift that up. And so you can see I'm just holding, propping up her heels in the palms of my hands. And I definitely feel that there's a little bit of difference in energy here. And so I'm going to concentrate on just balancing them both out and grounding them at the same time. This is fine, this is normal, and as always, we'll just do some breath work. I'll let her know. Jeanette, I'm just going to work on your balance here a little bit. If you feel any shifts or any movement, any whirlings, it's all very normal. And if anything gets uncomfortable, just let me know. And so I do the big breaths. I spend typically a few moments here just picking things up, and with my own discretion we'll leave that. So I go to this foot and I pick that up. We just go to a comfortable spot I don't mind touching skin, and so I'll get right in there. I'll get right in there, right under, and hold her feet. But today it's a little bit chilly, so I don't really want to expose them entirely. But there's something about the human touch and feet. Our feet are not touched very often, right? But there's usually something very caressing, very gentle, very nice, very soothing about taking the time to touch and to send energy to someone's feet. Very good. And so I make sure I comfortably put everything back, and I let her know that, Jeanette, I'm going to go to this calf now, so I'm going to place my hands above and below, and see my hands placed under there. Obviously, have discretion there. And if your client is wearing a dress, a sundress, or some shorts, you just want to make sure that you're okay with that as a practitioner, and that they're okay with that. And so just ask the question as the practitioner. And if you're not or they're not, then you can just do this, or you can hover. But in most situations where that's not the case, I don't mind doing skin-to-skin contact. And people have asked, why do you do that? Why do you go everywhere on the body? And I know that, well, the entire body is an entire system. So yes, we could be working on the 7 main chakras of the body, but there could be buildup or injuries, especially with the legs and the feet. I mean, they carry weight all day long. So I spend attention on the legs and the feet. And so above, I'm just going to go above and below here. Now again, if this person is sensitive to touch and they sort of don't want you touching, you just hover your hands and do the same thing. So in this case, I'm just hovering and I'm doing the same thing, just breathing, and I'm feeling into it, and the energy is being sent and received. And if and when I feel a release, I just fan it away, I just move it away, and then I come back up. And sometimes I just stop here, feel the belly, feel this midsection before I move on to the next place. One hand on top and one hand below, and I just settle into this just like that. And so I'll instruct her to take a big breath in and release. Excellent. And another one. And relax. One more. Very good. And so sometimes I'm drawn to work on people's arms and their hands. That's up to you. You can place your hands, put them wherever you'd like. I'm not going to really get into it right now, but you can do what you feel you need to. Right now, I feel like maybe there's a place or an injury, so I'll just hold their arms just like this. Sometimes I'll go right to their hands. I'll hold their hands. I'll place my hands on various places of the arms. And I say, Jeanette, I'm going over to the other side, and I'm going to go right to your shoulder. I'm going to go above and below. There. And I want you to take some big breaths again. Sometimes we get help from the little ones. When I feel like the work here has been done, I'll go to the arm and I'll say, Jeanette, I'm just going to hold your arm, or perhaps hold your hand, and I'm going to do a little work on your arm and your hand. And just like anywhere else, you could pick up anything here. And so you just sit with it and use your discretion. And at this point, I feel like I've done a pretty thorough, complete job. And so I'll back up. I back up from the body, and I close my eyes, or I use my hand, and I'm just doing a scan. So I'm just going to stand here like this with my hand open, just sort of take into or feel as I scan her body head to toe, anywhere I should go, or if there's anything residual left over. And so there's two places that came to me. One is your heart again. So Jeanette, I'm just going to go back to your heart for a minute. So I place my hand again right here. And I'm feeling compelled to place my other hand on her third eye. And so this will help with your envisioning, your beliefs, your understanding, your interpretation. Your heart will help guide your visions. And I just settle into it. I spend some time here. Sometimes I feel a certain thing, and so I just want to spend in this situation a little time right here. Now, the other place I picked up on with the scan was her feet again, so I just want to hold her feet again, and I just breathe into it. Good. And I let those down. I come back over here. I'm just going to do another quick scan to see if there's anything else that pops up. And so that's feeling good as far as what I can pick up and what I can see. And so at this point, I'll come over to Jeanette. And I'll say, is there anywhere that you want me to place my hands that you feel would be beneficial? No. So she feels pretty good about everything that's happened. Sometimes she might say, can you go back to my heart or back to my head or somewhere physical where it may hurt? And so you just spend some time there, just a couple minutes, just to finish things up. And so at this point, I would usually say to Jeanette, we're nearing the end of our session, so I just want us to fill our hearts and our minds with gratitude for any and all of the work that took place here today. If there was any spirit or any energy that showed up here today, we would give thanks directly to that energy. So, for example, if Jesus was here, or Isis, or Buddha, or a grandparent, or a loved one that passed on, we would just say thank you to them. And we thank you for your wisdom and your healing energy and your guidance. And we're just full of gratitude. And we're just so full of love and thanks for any and everything that took place here today. And so I would also mention to the person to make sure that you fill your heart with gratitude for yourself, for taking the time to be here and to take this seriously. And I'll also feel and express to Jeanette, I'm going to give gratitude to you for taking the time and being brave to be here today and for allowing me to be part of your experience. And so I take a moment and I would just ask them to sit in prayer, in silence, or in gratitude, however they wish, to just sit in that beautiful state of gratitude. And then I do a final fanning. I'm going to say, very good. This session has ended, Jeanette. It is complete. I'm going to ground myself. I'm going to go wash my hands. And so if you want to slowly get up and take a seat, and I'll go wash my hands. And so the last stage, I just wash my hands, I'm grounded, and I'll ask Jeanette, do you need help getting down? Because sometimes people might be a little bit woozy or dizzy. And if she does, I'll come over and I'll help her however she needs assistance. And I'll ask her to take a seat. And then I'll come and sit down. And then I'll say, Jeanette, how do you feel? Okay. Did you want to discuss anything that came up? Did you want to go into or dive into any of the emotions or anything that you may felt? And that's really up to her. I just offer the debrief. And some people don't want to. And sometimes they want to sit and discuss. And sometimes it can be 5-10 minutes, who knows. So in this case, she's happy.
That means
and the boys.
You mean you're all done.
And so in this case, I would thank her and I would help her up and get her coat, or if she needed a reminder about certain things, like the payment exchange or whatever exchange, the e-transfer or whatever. And I would make sure to tell her that she should have a good rest, drink a lot of water, eat good food, don't do anything strenuous, stay as high vibration for as long as you can as possible. And then I would say, I would hope to see and hear from you again. And with that, our generic Reiki intuitive session has come to completion. And so at this time, I would like to thank each and every one of you for taking part in this demonstration and this learning opportunity. For those who are taking the course, you can dive into and dissect this however you'd like. You can contact me directly if you have any comments or questions so that I may help you or perhaps expand out some of the things that were happening here. And if you're just watching this for your viewing leisure, I wish to thank you very, very much as well for being present, and feel free to like and to share and to subscribe to the channel, as I feel that this is something I would like to do often, is to share this experience with many people as well. If you wish to be a participant during my session, please contact me. You can check us out on our website, our Facebook page, social media, and I would love to. It is an honor, and I'm filled with much humbleness to be able to provide this service to anyone who may need it. So many blessings. Take care and do all that you can to be your best self. This is Reiki from the Farmhouse, and I am Tom from Platinum Light Healing.